Don't throw away those scrap papers just yet because I am going to show you how to collage them for a mixed media project. Let's get into it. What's going on, everybody? My name is Tiffany Solorio. If you are new here, welcome. We are on day 16 of 20 days of creative play. Now, if you have not already, be sure to download the 20 days of creative play PDF. It has a QR code down at the bottom for the playlist, and then that way you can see all of the videos if you are catching up. Now we are going to be doing collage scraps with a gesso wash. I don't have a ton of scraps, however, I'm going to show you how you can kind of create your own. What I did was I went into my stash of gel print papers with the oxide inks, and I just grabbed a probably several of the same colors so that it kind of is cohesive. And then I'm just going to take them and then just kind of rip them just like this and make my own scraps. Okay, you can do this with book pages, watercolor papers, like whatever you have on hand, use that, right? So I'm just gonna tear these apart. Now, if you have scrap papers, this would go a little bit faster. But again, I don't do a lot of collaging, and I did just get rid of a huge bin of scrap papers, which now I'm regretting. But let's see, I think I want this one. So I'm gonna tear off that bottom portion and then the top portion. I'm gonna rip it just like that. I think this one I might do smaller chunks. And I have these two. These might be a little too thick for what I'm going for, but they were in my stash from my specimen box that I created. So I decided to pull those two. And I have this one. I think I may just do maybe the bottom portion like that, and then like that. Okay, I think we're good because I'm going to be doing a tag. Now you can do this technique in a art journal, for a card, whatever you choose. It does not have to be a tag. So I have these two tags here, and I'll work on two at a time. And it's pretty simple. I personally like to sort of like keep with the same colors. I see a lot of artists do lots of different types of colors, very colorful, but that's just not me and what I like. So I'm just gonna kind of keep with the same few colors. I think like that. And I'm gonna tear this one. I'm just trying to get a feel for where I want everything before I start gluing, because once you glue, it's a little bit harder to move things around, right? I think I like that. And I may like this up top. And then maybe like that. I think this one I might do sort of light to dark. So we have these. And then maybe we can go I'm gonna tear the top off of this one, and I do kind of like that, so I'm gonna put this one behind there. And then I think I like that. And then I may go like, let's see, like that of some sort. Okay, and then for this one over here, this is just gonna be a Mod Podge of whatever I decide. And as you can see, if you're intimidated by collaging with your scrap papers or maybe even pattern paper, whatever you have, it definitely does not have to be anything crazy, right? So you saw how sort of quick that came together. And again, don't stress about it because you can add more to your project, and then like stamping and paste and more color and whatever you want. Okay, so I sort of have an idea of my where I want everything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue it down with some matte gel first. And I think what I'm going to do, because I like everything pretty much where it is, so I'm going to take some of this mint tape. This is a very low-tack tape. And then sort of pick everything up, just semi how it was, right? And then that way I don't forget. And then you can reuse this tape as well. And you can even just take a picture or just wing it again. It doesn't really matter. All right, I am going to take a bigger brush, and I think I'm just going to just put a good layer down. I think my matte gel is getting pretty dry here, so I'm just gonna put that there. Okay, and then we're gonna do the other one. Probably not the best brush to do this with, but it was on my desk and we're just gonna use it. Okay, now I have a smaller brush for when I start adhering all of those other little papers. So I'm just gonna roughly put this back over top, and then when the collage medium is still wet, you can kind of maneuver those the papers around. And then I'm just gonna peel this back best I can. Oh, it got snagged there. That's okay. I am not worried about it. I'm just moving it closer to me because it's a little hard to get, and I am struggling with tennis elbow as well, and so I have to kind of move in a weird way. All right, we have the tape up now. Now I can go back in and kind of add more where I want, and then kind of shimmy these around a little bit better. And then of course add more adhesive where I need to. Of course you want to add some gel or glue, whatever glue you're using underneath the papers that are overlapping each other, so that you make sure that they're nice and secure. Okay, I'm gonna put this one down here. And then this one got a little crooked, and that is stuck there. Took too long. That's okay, because I can add another little strip of something there. So let's see. We got maybe that there. And then I am going to cut off all the excess. And then we'll put this one right there. Just like that. So there's our first one. Looks like a little hot mess, but that's okay. All right, now we're gonna go and put this one down. Go ahead.
I just remember I have this stripe.
Oh yeah, that'd be cute.
I was thinking overall.
Ooh yeah, we can look, and then you can decide.
Jacket.
Ooh, that'd be so cute.
I know, because Winnie the Pooh for some reason gives off overall vibes.
Yeah, for sure. Okay.
Yeah, and we could get patches.
No patches. I'm tired of patches.
Yeah,
Okay. All right, so I'm gonna do this one now. I'm gonna add a little bit more of that matte gel, only because, well, you know what? We did it upside down, but that's okay. We're rolling with it. No stress today. I think I'm gonna tear that off just a little bit more. So creating should be a little bit, mostly stress-free, I would imagine. You want to make sure that you're enjoying it. If something is bringing you, you know, if it's stressing you out too much to the point where you're pulling your hair out, then I would probably step away. So that's why I just kind of go with the flow and not really worry too much. Just paper, right? And I did do this upside down, but that is all okay. I think I might add something, let's see. No, you know what? It needs to be blue. I'm just gonna do, I think that right there. And then I'm gonna put this one down here, tear it off, and then I'll just add that like that, okay? And then I'm gonna cut this down, and then I can decide if I wanna add even more layers to this. I think for me it might be good, but you never know. I'm gonna flip it over and then just varnish the back there to make sure that everything is pretty adhered, okay? Now to cut off the excess, you want to flip the tag over, or your paper, whatever you're working on, and then I just roughly take off the excess. Doesn't have to be perfect, but just cut it off fairly easy. Just like this. And then you can get a better sense of what the project is going to look like when you cut off all the excess. Okay, I really like this, but I'm not too fond of this. So I think I might cover that up just a little bit with something else. Let's see what we got here. Yeah, I think it needed to be broken up there a little bit. So I'm just gonna take this piece and then put it up top, just like that. For me, everybody's creative eye is different. So your collaging might look a lot different than mine. That's the beauty of creating, is people can be using pretty much the same thing and get a totally different result. Way back in the day, I used to do this challenge where somebody would send you like 5 items or something like that. I can't remember 100% because it was very long ago. And I think it might have been for like an Etsy shop or something, and then you had to create something, and each person created something completely different, but with the same items. So it was a lot of fun to see everybody's creativity, and you get kind of the same effect, or like, you know, the same thing when people are creating for design teams. Everybody has the same stamp or whatever, but you know, everybody's projects look different. So I think I might add something up top. Yeah, I don't like how much orange there is, so I'm gonna add a little bit of brown up top. Just like that. You can take a little bit more time and tear your paper a little bit better than me, obviously, but I'm not too worried about it. Okay, and then I'm going to cut off the excess again. And then at this point, you can add some more stamping, which I'll probably do, even though it's just collaging and then a gesso wash. All right, I am going to give this a quick dry. All right, because I have all of these supplies on my desk, I am actually just going to add a little bit of stamping here and there just to add a little bit more interest before we do the gesso wash. So I have some ground espresso archival ink and then this scripty stamp, and then I'm just gonna kind of stamp it randomly, stamping off and then adding that there. And then we'll go to this one. Perfect. Okay. And then of course you can add even some stenciling, some, just whatever you like, to be honest. All right, so I have some white heavy gesso, and I am going to just take this paintbrush, get a scoop of it out, add it to some water that I got from my little cup there. Probably needs to have a little bit more water. And I do want to be careful because these are oxides, so I am going to be cautious of how they're reacting to the gesso because they are water reactive. So now a wash can definitely be as thick or as thin as you want it. So depending on how thick you want yours is how much water you're going to add to your gesso, of course. Now a clear gesso, you're obviously not going to see it, so you want to make sure that you're using a white gesso. Okay, and then I'm just going to sort of, it is reacting a little bit, but that's okay, because this will sort of seal it in as well. So, and I'm kind of going heavy and more heavy in other places, and so, and then I think I'm going to take that scraping technique that we did and add some scrape gesso as well. Because why not? This is all about creative play, remember? All right, I am going to dry this a little bit. All right, I am going to add a little bit on my mat here, some of that gesso, and then I'm just going to pick up some of it. Whoops. And I do have a lot of other gunk on there too, so this will be interesting. So I'm just gonna kind of scrape that on. Just to add a little more interest here. Perfect. Now, there are a lot of people that will think that this is a waste. I do not, okay? Every layer you add, whether it gets completely covered up or not, it adds to the end result. If you haven't tried it, I would try it for yourself fully before you totally rule out the idea of adding so much layers to a project. I love these. These remind me of like quilts or something. Okay, and then I'm gonna dry these. Okay, I am loving these, but I do want to add a little bit more color, so I'm just gonna add some little bit of spritz of whatever's on my desk, which is antique linen, speckled egg. I had a mixed media class over the weekend, a live class, so I haven't cleaned up completely yet. So and because we added the gesso, the color is just gonna sort of sit right on top, which is nice. I do have speckled egg and oxide. Maybe I'll add a little bit of sprays or splatters like that. All right, so there is the tags that I created using the paper scraps that I did create on my own. I did not have many in my stash. And then I added a gesso wash over top, and then I did scrape some gesso over top of that as well, just to create a little bit more interest on these tags. And then I added some color just because it was on my desk. So that is what these creative prompts are all about. Just get your supplies out and play. You do not have to stop at what the prompt is unless you want to. If you are just kind of very, very new to these techniques, I would probably just stick to the exact technique. Or if you're feeling a little crazy and want to do something else, then I suggest, you know, pulling out some paints or sprays or whatever else you have, and then just trying to take these a step further. Now I am going to put these in my background stash so that I can use these for future projects. I'm not worried about creating a full project right now. I thought about it because I do have some focal points and other things on my desk, but I like these right now, and I'm not 100% sure what I want to do with them just yet. So I'm going to set these aside and then use them at a later date. And that is definitely an option too. You don't have to finish every single project that you start. All right, if you create something inspired by any of these prompts or my videos, be sure to tag me on social media. I would love to see it. And as always, don't forget to stay creative, and I will catch you all for day 17.